Hello and welcome to Privilege Check, a podcast where two girls from different backgrounds come together to unveil the reality of modern society. I'm Loveleen.
And I'm Shivangi. And today we're going to talk about something that's responsible for at least 920 deaths nationwide since 1993.
We are really glad to have this opportunity to talk about a topic like this because one of UN's SDGs is decent work and full employment for all men and women and equal pay for work of equal value. This is a goal that the United Nations wants to achieve by 2030.
But I think we should first explore where India currently stands with respect to this issue, and particularly with respect to manual scavenging.
Which will always be extremely difficult to do considering at the moment there are 15 states and union territories that do not have reported data on the deaths.
I think this is such a grave issue if you consider how limited data there is available about this, especially post pandemic.
Data and care, Shvangi. Honestly, data and care.
I mean, let's be fair, there was never really any care, but I don't think we could have ever imagined that it could be amplified to such an extent.
Yeah, like during the pandemic, during the peak, when shops were closed and they were open for only a few hours, and when we all were locked in the security of our home, manual scavengers were at work. Even government bodies were not working. Road repairs haven't been conducted. But manual scavenging, they definitely do not need any kind of security, right?
If we actually dig deep into this entire issue, we realize that COVID-19 actually pales in comparison to how deadly manual scavenging actually is.
I completely agree with you. But first of all, for anybody who is not familiar with the term, manual scavenging refers to those activities where a human being is in contact with feces or waste material without any safety gear. And when we say no safety gear, it means some of them literally have to scoop up feces or dangerous chemical material without any eye gear, or they are equivalent of a PPE kit. It is the most dehumanizing practice there is.
And while this dehumanizing practice is a phenomenon in Bangladesh and Pakistan as well, there's a sweet little thing that India manages to connect it to, and that's something we realize we can never escape. Caste.
Of course, Siobhan.
Possibly. I mean, I think we all know, like, just the thought of like having to clean excreta is considered degrading, right? And therefore is only supposed to be assigned to those who belong from like the lower caste groups. Sorry, sorry, but it's just crazy because Loveleen and I came across this during our research, and we realized that almost 40 to like 60% of Dalit households are are actually manual scavengers. So this is quite literally a second nature for the lower caste groups in India.
Exactly. But our concern isn't solely related to the caste connotations it brings forth to the table and as a result perpetuates. No, it frankly is not that simple. What concerns us is a very blatant violation of Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Every person deserves to live with dignity. But here are stories of those who die swimming in lakes of waste material to sustain their family.
And we know that everybody has a very definite role to play in society, and somebody's role is going to look very trivial on surface, and others probably going to look like a very important part of life function. But is it too much to ask that you play the role with dignity? Is it too much to ask that the people who are playing these roles don't develop cholera, typhoid, or other respiratory disorders, or some blood infection or skin infection, and probably end up dying? These are all people who are in their 20s, and by the time they reach 30s, they're already losing their lives. Their family is losing the sole breadwinner. And obviously, the next in line is going to be their child. And they're thrusted into this profession from a very young age.
Of course, Shivangi. And when you think that this couldn't get worse, here is an example of uh, an entity in India that is very, very much praised, and everybody believe, and they're very much praised, especially because uh, of the cheap facilities that they
Bada,
know that they give. And we've made an episode about this as well. I think it was our fifth episode, transport. Yeah, I'm talking about Indian Railways. So Indian Railways is notorious for this. When manual scavenging wasn't banned, the practice was conducted at full throttle. After the ban, however, people became smarter. It did not stop, they just got smarter. Instead of employing manual scavengers, they would hire them through contractors. So, on paper, they technically do not encourage manual scavenging. Despite all of this being mentioned in the 2013 amendment of the Prohibition of Manual Scavenging Act of 1993, which we will talk about uh, in further in our episode. So, what do you have to say about that,
exactly.
Monkey?
I just love how, when it comes to saving money, people just become smarter. When it comes to like exploiting humans, they just become smarter. I love how their intelligence is unlocked at like level 3000 when it comes to exploiting a human life. But yeah, like Laveen mentioned, much to your surprise, there are actually multiple legislatures and initiatives that have been introduced and passed in the parliament, primarily to provide rehabilitation to manual scavengers and to ban the practice as a whole. In fact, one of the most recent ones was in 2013, and just in 2019, there was a 62% growth reported the number of deaths caused by manual scavenging. You don't get the chronology. You have 2013 law, 2019, 62% increase in deaths, despite having initiatives like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So I don't know. I don't know what to say to this.
I think Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was also the most popular initiative taken to help
The
the
only initiative that they've been dragging for 2 terms
y-
now.
definitely, and something that they have been trying to generate votes from, despite because definitely they have few concepts, but let's not get into the political
People
realm.
love the savior complex, Lavleen. Everybody loves the savior complex.
Of course, let's not make this way too political at this point. So, yeah, to add to what you were saying, it's not just a deadly practice at the end of the day. It's actually become sort of a lifestyle for the entire community, right? And
Yeah.
this is the same community that is already marginalized. It has seeped into our language, in fact, like our vocabulary as well. Because when you see this in a broader spectrum, and you are referring to a manhole, so you're just referring to a man dipping himself in waste material. So I don't know if most people do not know about this, but the Indian government actually wanted to change the name, as they always want to. So they wanted to change manholes to machine holes to further eradicate manual scavenging. So that is their solution. That let's just change the name. That is the big brain idea that they have.
Wow, Lavleen. I feel like I just gained some brain cell or something. But how is name conversion a solution? Isn't making laws or forget it, just implementing the laws you've made the solution? And yeah, we have laws. We've I know I said this before, but we've had multiple laws since like 1993. There have been multiple laws just to ban. The first one in 1993. It's like 2 decades since 1993 now. This was the 1993 was of course amended to the 2013 uh, Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act. So the entire proposal was basically the same old thing, right? That this just prohibited scavenging as a practice, but also proposed their rehabilitation along with the family that they belong to. It sounds pretty much like a win-win situation, right? This act was not the solution, but so yep, really wasn't.
Yeah. This act was definitely not the solution, nor was the amendment. If you want to know more why, let's just elaborate this. Despite the fact that you can actually see manual scavengers at work, I would be very surprised if you haven't. But despite that, for anybody who hasn't, there has been an amendment for the 2013 amendment as well. So the original bill passed in 1993, amended in 2013, and now in 2020, a bill has been proposed to do and to get along with an amendment again. So to give an overview of that particular bill, the bill proposes to completely mechanize sewer cleaning. It's so funny. It actually proposes to completely mechanize sewer cleaning, introduce ways for on-site protection, and provide compensation to manual scavengers in case of sewer deaths. I mean, I I don't even want to comment on this. Do they actually hear themselves when they're saying this or when they're proposing this? What were they thinking?
Do they, Loveleen, do they talk to anybody but mirrors when they propose these policies? Do they? Please tell me. Anyways, I don't know why we keep just delving into like bashing our current government. This is supposed to be an educational episode, but cool. I'm just gonna stick to the topic now. So I think it was the Social Justice and Empowerment Ministry's National Action Plan, which was under the Union government, that aimed to make the laws tighter. But not just that, it also wanted to eradicate the procedure altogether by replacing it with a better fecal sludge management system. Now, of course, the question is how effective is this really going to be? Because, like Lavleen said, it keeps requiring amendments and amendments. And there has been a 62% increase in deaths due to manual scavenging. That means a law that has been already passed earlier has done very little good, which means that class and caste divides still exist in society. And that
Exactly.
just means that humanity is still on the decline. So
Of
I don't
course.
know what use is it going to be.
I completely agree with that, Shivangi. Because imagine, I don't know for how long they're going to try to babysit or try this warning card method with passing laws and making laws and passing bills. Because how do they? I let me try to structure this thought process. Okay, we pass a law. People are not following it. So let's make the laws more strict. Is that how they think? Do they think that's how it's going to
Bingo!
work?
Loveleen, you can now just nominate yourself for Lok Sabha elections. You're ready.
Yeah.
You're ready. I love
I
how
just
I love
need
how
to get to the age, to the right age, and I can stand for Lok Sabha elections.
doesn't matter. What? It doesn't matter. Two rules matter. It's just so funny how
Exactly, it doesn't. And I think we will elaborate on this further in the episode as well. Because the way that rules have been playing out for the government very for officials who have been given the position that they are at because of their ethical nature, but that's not how it works in India anymore. But talking about ethics, this also brings what you are mentioning also brings up this really ethical question of whether laws or creating a law is fundamentally useful when the mindset of people is what has to change, like the need of the hour. And to make a change, I feel that it is the mindset of the people that needs to change, because when we mention that manual scavenging is directly related to the caste system in India, I think that's what really matters. I mean, I know that ethics is a complex topic to dissect, right? And maybe we shouldn't delve into it. Maybe we should just dissect what
It's
the
very
amendment
complex. Yeah,
bill
it's
is. Yeah.
not very unilateral. Like you can't, not unilateral, sorry. It's not very one dimensional actually talking about something like this
Yeah.
because there's a lot more that like even like uncovering ethics in a issue like this, there's a lot more into play.
Hmm.
And so I think it's a pointless discussion to have and it's
Yeah.
just going to distract us
Yeah.
from
Maybe we
our
should
thing.
just dissect the amendment bill that we have been talking about, because that is something that's on paper,
Yeah.
and maybe that's something that we
Oh
can.
yeah, oh yes, Lavleen, thank you. My favorite thing. This amendment bill brings out the kindergartner teacher in me. So the wire, according to the wire, the amendment bill has treaded the same flawed path as its previous versions. In case you didn't get it, and I have to like dump it down in like basic math, you subtract you subtract the new version from the previous version and you're gonna get nada because that's how many changes there are. I'm not a lawyer, so if anybody like wants to correct me on this, sure. But like if a bill's the same, why is it being amended? I don't get it. Like I mean,
Shivangi, if you find that hilarious, which I'm sure you do, uh,
yeah.
what I'm about to say further is going to have you rolling. Okay? Now, this 2020 Amendment Bill for Prohibition of Manual Scavenging and the Rehabilitation Act. Okay? Now, this amendment bill is a hidden bill. Can you imagine? It is a hidden bill, which means that there is no draft available for public consultation. Now, if that does not seem sketchy, I don't know what does. Shivangi, literally, your face right now.
This is quite literally against established procedure. I know we were just talking about this, how rules don't matter. Wow, they really don't. How does it keep getting away with things like this? I just do not understand. Like
Exactly. I mean, I,
hidden bill.
I,
Wow.
yeah, I know I hinted this.
This brilliance, corruption brilliance, like literally unparalleled.
Of course, and I was hinting this earlier, and I really wanted to mention this because, come on, this really is blatantly not following any sort of structure at all. Like, You, I don't know how they get away with this. I really don't. Anyway, coming back to the bill, to give a better structure to what all we have said, the bill basically proposes completely mechanized work cleaning, better protection at work, compensation in case of accidents. Now, currently, engaging anyone for hazardous cleaning of sewers and septic tanks is punishable with imprisonment of up to 5 years or a fine of 5 lakh or both. The new bill proposes that the law banning manual scavenging becomes more stringent by increasing both the imprisonment term and the fine amount.
Goodbye. What is like I said, it I love how people have hyped like bureaucracy and politics to like such an esteemed position that oh no, you have to be really smart. You have to be really knowledgeable, you know. And you look at these policies that people just pull out of thin air. I think my opinion is only going to like side with Marie Marcel Tekekara, an author at The Fire, who spoke to Bezreda Wilson, who's a Raymond Magsaysay Award winner and also co-founder and national convener at the Safai Karamchari Andolan. And she said that I think it just sums up brilliantly how futile this amendment is. She said that, quote, a judge will hesitate to convict an offender of this act if the prison sentence is higher. So this is counterproductive, end quote.
I mean, I think this quote really sums up why laws are not working in our country. The solution is not, like I said, I don't know how long they think this warning method is going to work. And this is exactly what I was talking about. I don't know how long they're thinking that they can just come up with by saying that let's make the punishment bigger and expecting that it will work. I don't know how long they're going to keep on making amendments saying that we're going to make things stricter so people follow laws when judges themselves don't want to follow them and I would say the correct word they used was hesitate when they're hesitating to convict an offender. This really does not make sense to me. The bottom line is that rules have been broken, and laws or no laws, the acts are no good if they're not implemented well. Amendments suggest that the implementation will become more strict, but that is not something that needs to be done if it was done in the past. And when the same promises are made again and again, and when they're broken, then I don't know if I can wholly believe this change.
I agree. I don't see the point in introducing amendments again and again. I just don't get it. Like, because, like, look at this, okay? Manual scavenging is not an issue that changes over time, right? Like that, whose like severity changed over time or whose severity worsened or something. It has always been this bad. I mean, since 1993, you have this act that is supposed to ban manual scavenging, right? I just do not understand why we need why we need to keep on having amendments. The laws exist to be implemented correctly, and I don't think this warning business that these people have, including in their amendments, is going to work because we're all grown, educated adults. Like, honestly, this should not be necessary in the first place, but like we've mentioned, it's also very hard to kind of put all the blame on law enforcement when the people themselves need to change, and change is not that easy. But I just don't see the point in amendments in issues like this.
Hmm.
And I do understand that the original law did not uh, have certain phrases about protective gear, and that's why amendments had to be made. But the 2013 amendment and the proposed amendment for 2020, they're literally mirror images of each other. Why is it a proposition there?
Completely agree with you, Shvangi. And although, as I said, 2020, the Amendment Act, the bill proposed is not available. We don't have drafts for looking into it. But then what we understand from reports is that it's exactly the same. And while understand your the essence of what you're saying, and I completely agree with it. When we talk about how the severity not increasing, I think it's really funny how 62% deaths have actually increased. And it doesn't make sense, honestly. And I don't think the bills are doing anything essentially other than giving warnings per se. So I don't know. I completely agree. The essence of what you're saying
I
is
just not
undisputed.
just Yeah, and not just warnings. I think the bills are just a reminder that hey, this exists. Like it's just a reminder. I don't even see it as a warning. Like, oh, you were living in your privileged, ignorant bubble. Here's a reminder that people suffer.
Yeah.
That's all that is to me.
I honestly think the crux of the matter really lies in the caste system. And I know that conversion or migration has been the most obvious and hence the most suggested solution. However, in a country like ours, where our identity lies in our names, and our names specifically bring forth stereotypes and assumptions, I think it is impossible to escape caste. I don't think that there is any way that you can very effectively escape the caste system in altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very stupid pipe dream to have. Like to think that You can live in India and escape caste. I mean, unless you're Arundhati Roy and you're just plain dumb, you're not gonna escape caste. I mean, of course, ideally, I mean, if we had like a large number of philanthropists who want to create a better society, and unless we have that, we're stuck in this caste system where some of us can exploit the hell out of the name that we've been born to, and then there are some of us, like the Dalits, who are stuck in hellholes. That's just how divisive life is.
Mhm. And sorry, while I completely agree with you and this topic about how caste is actually uh, the drivers of manual scavengers into the hell holes, I don't think, and I would rather not elaborate much more on the topic on the basis of caste, just simply because of the reason that we have already spoken about it extensively on our podcast, The Privilege Check.
Yeah.
It was, in fact, our first episode. So, if you would like to know more, we are accessible on most audio streaming platforms. So you can easily find us on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and occasionally on YouTube as well.
Yep. You can also hit us up on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. We're literally almost everywhere. We might reply like 24 hours later, but you can always you can
Yeah.
always extend the
But
orange
we do
patch.
check. Do not be taken aback by it. But we do check, and we really, like we keep saying on our podcast, it's a two-way conversation. We learn from you, and you learn from us. And our
Yep.
podcast really essentially makes information bite-sized with well done research, and here's to an enlightened life. Bye.
Bye.